Hello everyone. Sometimes we'll receive Google security alerts for our Gmail account. It is because someone might hack our password and will try to log in into our account. And they will try to access our personal and confidential information. It is important to know about network and internet security. My name is Prashanti. The topic for today is network and internet security. The learning objectives are: computer users should know the importance of network and internet security, and several examples of unauthorized access, and several ways to protect against unauthorized access, and several examples of computer sabotage, and individuals, businesses can protect against computer sabotage, and online theft, identity theft, and detailed steps an individual can take to protect against online theft and all these illegal activities, and identify personal safety risks, and list of steps individuals can take to safeguard their personal safety. And we are going to discuss about the current state of network and internet security legislation. This chapter covers security concerns stemming from the use of computer networks and precautions that need to be taken to reduce risk, and personal safety issues related to internet, and legislation related to network and internet security. First, unauthorized access and unauthorized use. What is a computer crime? Computer crime is an illegal activity which is performed involving a computer. So it includes theft of financial assets. For example, let's think a person hacked our computer. He will try to access our credit card and other bank information. So he will try to steal our financial assets. It comes under theft of financial assets. Manipulating data for personal advantage. Some hackers will try to hack our Facebook account. They will know our password, Facebook password, and they will change our profile and they will manipulate our data for their personal advantage. It comes under manipulating data for personal advantage. An act of sabotage. Some people will try to access our computer and will install malicious programs. It will release computer virus into our computer. Phishing. Phishing is the people will access our computer and will try to access our sensitive or confidential information. It is called phishing. All of these are examples of cybercrime. Computer users should be aware of all the security concerns and precautions that need to be taken. Unauthorized access. Unauthorized access is gaining access without permission. And unauthorized use is using our computer resources without permission. The both can be committed by insiders and outsiders. Codes of conduct. Codes of conduct are which is nothing but rules for behavior. It is typically given by business or school. So in businesses, they have terms and conditions. In terms and conditions, you often find you should not share the company's confidential information with outsiders. So those are the rules for behavior which are typically formed by business or school. Codes of conduct is nothing but rules for behavior. Hacking. Hacking is nothing but accessing computer without permission, using a computer. It is a serious threat for individuals, businesses, and national security, that is cyber terrorism. It is often performed via wireless networks. Wireless networks are more unsecured than wired networks. So it is performed via Wi-Fi networks. War driving. War driving is like people will drive around the city and to find the Wi-Fi hotspots. And they will try to connect to that Wi-Fi hotspots without permission. In this figure, you can see some people are Wi-Fi finders. They will travel or they will drive around the city and they will try to find the available Wi-Fi hotspots, and they will try to use the Wi-Fi without authorization. These are very dangerous because when they gain access to the Wi-Fi network, they will try to install malicious software and they will try to access the SSID, which is nothing but network name and password and many other confidential details. Wi-Fi piggybacking. It is nothing but accessing unsecured Wi-Fi network, but the hackers will stay within the range of broadcast range of Wi-Fi router. Router has a broadcast range, so hackers will stay within that range and they will access the Wi-Fi network without authorization. This is also very dangerous. Hackers will use the internet services to install softwares to perform illegal activities. Interception of communications. Interception attack is gaining access to the computer to get the confidential and private information. So messages are unsecured, some files might be unsecured, and login information might be unsecured. All these messages, files, login information, these unsecured things can be intercepted. Intercepted is nothing but they will get the unsecured messages, files using softwares. So some softwares are designed for this purpose. These softwares will try to access the unsecured messages, files, and login information. And the new trend today is like getting the credit card and debit card information during the card verification process. Like we have the card verification process. During that time, people trying to intercept credit card and debit card information. We have packet sniffing software. The software which is used to collect and gather the packets which pass through the network. So you might know the data is passed through the internet through packets. They are called data packets. So packet sniffing software will gather and collect all of the packets that pass through the network. Access control systems. Access control systems are used to control access to facilities, computer networks, computer databases, and website accounts. For example, to facilities like labs in the schools, they will have access cards. We need to swipe the access card to get into the lab rooms. And computer networks. Some networks are authorized, like a business network. Some companies will have their private network. They should be authorized with their employees will be given with username and password. And company databases. Company databases are they are secured with access controls with username and password. And some website accounts also have access control systems. Identification systems. Users should verify, they have to identify themselves to the systems. Identification systems will verify that the person is the authorized user or not. And we have authentication systems. Authentication systems are nothing but the systems which determine whether the person is the correct person or not, like authorized user or not. And possessed knowledge access systems. Possessed knowledge access systems are access control systems which use information that the only authorized user will know. Like the information which the authorized user, if I am an authorized user, I have a password, you might have a password. So that information is available in the possessed knowledge access systems. So they use that information to authorize the user. It is typically passwords. Passwords should be strong and changed frequently. It is always been conjunction with usernames. And the disadvantages of like possessed knowledge access systems are passwords can be forgotten. Like sometimes we might forget our password, and passwords can also be stolen. If they are stolen, like possessed knowledge access system will give authorize with the information, like the stolen person will have the password and they will try to access. So the disadvantages are passwords can be forgotten and password can be used by someone else. The password strategies are: password should be 8 characters and it should include uppercase and lowercase, and also it should include numbers and special symbols. And passwords should not be like our personal information, and like our date of birth, our address, and so on, because it is a public information which others might know and they will try to guess our password. So the password should be like this. In this example, you can see it is a passphrase where it contains: my son John is 5 years older than my daughter Abhi. In this phrase, they have used first letters in each word and a special symbol. And we can also have our dog's name and website short name and some numbers like this in this example. And we should not maintain a written copy of our password. It is very dangerous. People will try to know our password when they gain access to our computer. And passwords should be changed frequently. And if you have a same password for different like websites, you should change immediately. And for online banking, you should have strong passwords. Cognitive authentication systems. Cognitive authentication systems are also access control systems. They use information that the information which we are familiar with, like birthplace, pet names. Consider online banking. When you log in using your online banking password, so it will ask your cognitive authentication. Like it will ask what is your grandmother's first name, and it might ask you what is your birthplace or your spouse birthplace, and so on. That comes under cognitive authentication systems. It is used in many password recovery systems. When you forgot your password, to identify yourself, you need to answer the questions which you have been set up when you create that account. So these are the questions which you can know and you can easily remember. It is all about you. Two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication, like it uses password. Two different methods to authenticate users. It typically used with password, like possessed knowledge, with either biometric. Biometric feature is nothing but something we have. We have our iris, we have our fingerprint, we have our facial recognition, and so on. Possessed object. Possessed object is nothing but we use our smart cards along with our password. In ATMs we use our credit card or debit card along with PIN. And hard token. Hard token is a physical object used. Physical object might be our identity card. So it is an object which is used to gain access to the room. It is typically a security device. Soft token. Soft token is a one-time password. We have Google Authenticator, which server will generate the OTP and we should verify ourselves using one-time password. and it is also used with Facebook. And in this figure you can see in Facebook, when you are logging into your Facebook in new device, with new device, then it will ask you for one-time password. One-time password will be sent to your mobile phone, which you use Facebook, and you have to provide the OTP for logging into your Facebook account. Possessed object access systems. Possessed object is a physical object like we can have to identify ourselves, which can be a smart card or magnetic cards. It can also be RFID encoded badges and USB security keys or tokens. In this figure you can see the object, like this is the object, which is a smart card employee badge. It is read by the reader to provide access to the computer system. And in this figure you can see it is a physical access. We have mobile phone in this figure. It contains appropriate micro SD card. It is read by this reader to provide access to the facility. And disadvantages of this is like it can be lost, or physical object can be lost and it can be used by unauthorized individual. When a thief steals this physical object, so he can use it unauthorizedly. And biometric access systems. It identifies the user by using a unique biological characteristic. Our fingerprints are unique. Our face is unique. So by using our unique biological characteristic, we have to identify ourselves. So the unique biological characteristics might be fingerprint, hand, face, voice, and so on. The data read by biometric reader must match what is stored in the database. So already our facial recognition or our fingerprint might be stored in the database, so it should match. It is often used to control access to secure facilities, like to go to some office buildings. We need to have we have biometric readers where it will read our fingerprint. And it is also used for logging into computer. So many laptops nowadays are given with biometric verification. The advantages of using biometric access systems are they are very accurate, they are very unique, and it cannot be lost or forgotten. The disadvantages are we cannot reset many times. Once we have set our face or biometric access systems, then we cannot reset. And the software and hardware like biometric reader is very expensive. In this figure, you can see fingerprint readers, and you can see vein readers, and face recognition systems, and iris recognition systems. These are the types of biometric access and identification systems. Controlling access to Wi-Fi networks, wireless networks. Wi-Fi is less secure, as we have discussed. So security is off by default. We have to enable security. And wireless network owners should change their default password, and they should enable encryption. WPA is wireless protective access. So we should enable encryption, and we should enable other security features. And can hide network name, SSID. SSID is the technical term for network name. In this figure, you can see this is our SSID, which is our network name, which is also called username, Wi-Fi username. So we should hide our SSID. In this broadcast list, people can see our Wi-Fi, we can hide this. So we can secure our account. When we hide our SSID, we have to provide SSID and password while we are connecting. So this is how we connect to the Wi-Fi network. We'll click on connect and we have to give our password, network password. Securing a wireless home router. So this is how to configure a home router. In this figure you can see the configuration where we have set up advanced tools, status and support. So we have to go to advanced settings and we have to change our SSID. SSID is network name. So network name, we have to change our default network name and we have to click on this disable and disable from broadcast. In the Wi-Fi list, people can see our Wi-Fi name or SSID. So when you disable this, people cannot see your Wi-Fi. And you can type your desired SSID here. And you can set your password. You can change your default password here, like network key, and you can select your desired security mode. Firewall. Firewall is a software which protects our computer. It protects our computer and computer network from unauthorized access. It is typically two-way. It will check all the incoming traffic and outgoing traffic, and it will I will show in the figure. And it is important for home computer as it is directly connected to the internet. So it is important for home computers but also for businesses. In this figure you can see firewall, personal firewall. You can go to the firewall settings. You can specify your settings and the programs which are secured. You can set all these in firewall settings. And when incoming traffic from the internet if we receive an unauthorized access, it will block it and it will ask us to allow, block or treat as. And we are notified when unauthorized access or a new program requests access. Intrusion prevention system, which is an IPS software, it monitors traffic to try and detect possible attacks. And if an attack is discovered, it will immediately block it. And encryption. Encryption is nothing but it will scramble the contents. It will change the contents to unreadable content, unreadable data. And when people try to gather our information, they cannot read our data. It is used like for securing web pages. We use encryption, and it involves SSL protocol. We have web pages which are already secured. They will have SSL certificate and DVSSL certificate. SSL is Secure Sockets Layer Protocol. So it will authorize the web page. Like we need to provide our password, and also it will encrypt our data which we send through the internet, and it will decrypt the data which is sent to us through the internet. Private key encryption. Private key encryption is also called symmetric key encryption. It uses a single key. So a single key is used to encrypt and decrypt the data. Most often used to encrypt files on the computer. So if sender sends the files to recipients, then both should know the private key. When sender sends the information, he will set the encryption to using private key. He will encrypt all the data contained in the file. So when receiver receives the file would be encrypted completely. So recipient should provide the private key to decrypt the data. And public key encryption, which is also called asymmetric key encryption, it uses two keys, private key and public key, to encrypt and decrypt the data. So to encrypt we need private key, and to decrypt we need public key. Public key can be given to anyone who want to receive the information, and it uses key pairs. In this figure you can see it is an example of public key encryption. It is used to secure email message in Microsoft Outlook. In this figure, sender composed the email and he used the security settings to encrypt the email. So he uses the public key to encrypt the email. And this email is in the form of encrypted form, and the recipient receives the encrypted message, and recipient should provide his private key to decrypt it. So sender will encrypt it using public key, the recipient's public key, and receiver or recipient should decrypt it using private key, his private key. Web-based encrypted email, which is called Hushmail, is available, and it is available in different strengths. It can be in stronger and it can be in military. Stronger is more difficult to crack. And virtual private networks, which is often called VPN. It is a private secure path over the internet. It allows authorized users to securely access the private network. So we can access the private network via internet, but VPN is more secure, and it allows authorized users to securely access private network. It is less expensive and it can provide secure environment. It is typically used by businesses and corporate networks to remotely access the corporate networks. Personal VPNs can also be used. Additional public hotspot precautions. We should turn off automatic connections. When we go to some areas, our mobile phone will be connected to public hotspot. So we should turn off automatic connections. And we should use virtual private network as it is more secure. And we have to enter passwords when we are logging into the VPN network. Otherwise, we should not give our passwords or any other sensitive information. And we have to use antivirus software. And we have to turn off our Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and we have to turn off our file sharing options. And you can go through the figure for sensible precautions for public Wi-Fi hotspot users. This is sensible employee precautions. Screen potential new hires carefully. So when you when in companies, when new hires happen, they have to screen the employees carefully, because the employee might be an authorized or unauthorized, he might be very good. So we have to screen the employee carefully, new employees. And we have to go through the background verification, his work environment, his work culture, and so on. And we have to look for correct information. We have to verify him in schools and so on. And watch for disgruntled employees and ex-employees. So some ex-employees will try to give the confidential information from old company to new company and so on. So we have to watch for illegal activities, and we have to ask for review the security our business partners, and we have to develop policies. So many companies will have the policy like to do not share the confidential information of the company to others when they are in or out of the company. So they have to develop policies and controls. We have to use softwares to manage devices and prevent data leaks. Many employers will allow employees to bring their mobile devices and their own devices to offices. So they have to use some softwares to prevent data leaks. So we have data leakage prevention systems. Data leakage prevention systems are nothing but the softwares which are embedded into emails. When we are sending the emails out of the company users, then the software will check for all the confidential information. Then only it will allow. Otherwise, it will block the email. And outbound content monitoring systems. It is also the same. It will monitor our systems for any outbound content. And we have mobile device management softwares. We have mobile device managers. And they are also equipped in our mobile phones. So when we are capturing like sensitive information, it won't allow us. So these softwares are used in the companies. And BYOD is nothing but bring your own device. So some companies are allowing this, allowing us to bring the mobile devices, but they are allowing us only when we have mobile device manager softwares. In this example, you can see mobile device management software. So it secures and manages the mobile devices which are used in the organization. Securing BYODs, which is nothing but bring your own device. So bring your own device. Some businesses use BYOD for cost saving measure. So they cannot for saving the cost of buying new equipment for the company. So there's it is a cost saving measure, and individuals have to carry their own devices, and they have to use the same device for both work and personal use. Security is the disadvantage, but businesses will ensure the company networks are not adversely affected using the softwares. So MDM software, as we have discussed, mobile device management software, can help. And containerization, it can separate work and personal data. Let's go through the quiz. Which is the following is an example of possessed knowledge? We have discussed about possessed knowledge access systems. Options: A. Password, B. Smart card, fingerprint. So smart card will come under physical object, and fingerprint will come under biometric access systems. So possessed knowledge is the information which is known to the access systems and which is known to authorized users. So which is nothing but password. So the correct answer is password. True or false question. With public key encryption, a single key is used to both encrypt and decrypt the file. So we have discussed public key encryption and private key encryption. For For private key encryption, we just need only one key, which is private key. But with public key encryption, we need two keys, public key and private key. So it is false. And Dash controls access to the computer from the internet and protects programs installed on a computer from accessing the internet without authorization. So when unauthorized users access our computer, firewall controls the access to the computer and computer network. So the correct answer is a firewall. Here are the answers. This is for today. Thank you.